Before we start MySQL migration, let's introduce the environment again. Here we already have two ECS. They are running MySQL 8.0, and this is the master, and this is the secondary node. So if you have already had a MySQL cluster on premise, you also can follow me to do the migration. Okay, first we need to buy a RDS instance. Let's buy the instance in Tokyo region. Okay, create instance. By the same version, MySQL 8.0, choose Japan region, and choose a high availability edition. As you can see on my screen, they still have other options to choose, PolarDB and the Enterprise edition. For now, we choose high availability edition, which includes two nodes. Choose eSSD. Also, you can choose to have a multi-AZ deployment. Right now, choose one, single AZ. Okay. Choose this one and change the duration. Then, okay, next. Next. Well, let's go back to the RDS console. Yeah, they have already two instances right now. As you can see, the instance we just purchased is under creating. The primary node and the secondary node will be created automatically. So it's more convenient than self-built MySQL cluster. Well, it may take a while before it's ready, so let's take a break and refresh the page later. Well, it's ready now. Next, let's create a database user account. Let's say it's a root privileged account. Password and create. When it turns to active, let's log on to the database. Use this user. Well, the user is activated now. Let's log on to this database. There are several ways you can use to connect the database. Right now, let's use the DMS directly. Root privilege database password. Well, we have already into the database right now. Show databases. It should be empty. Yeah, pretty much clean. Now we already have the target database and the source database as a cluster. Right now, let's buy the DTS instance to start the migration. Data migration. Because the target database is in Tokyo region, so let's buy migration task in Tokyo region. Create migration task. Set a task name. Let's do for data migration first. So set a name to for data MySQL. Because the ECS are also in Tokyo region, so let's say it's Tokyo region source database and the host name. Let's check on the ECS console. This is a primary one. Yeah, by the way, for MHA architecture MySQL cluster, if you are doing migration, the only node you should migrate is the primary node, because the other one is a replica. So copy the host of the primary node, passed here, and this is a database default port. Well, for security and conditions consideration, we need to create a database account for migration. Well, let's connect to the source database first. This is the source database primary node. Create user. Let's just say DTS at enable remote access and identified by password. Grant or on to DTS and show grants for DTS. Okay, these are the permissions DTS has. All right, flush privileges. Great. Try to connect, use the user we just created. HP. Yeah, successfully. And use the user DTS. Test connectivity. Whoa, failed. Let's check for the reasons. MySQL JDBC connected failed and telnet failed. What does that mean? Well, connectivity failed actually means the server refused our request for connection. Why? There are the reasons. First, maybe the database account you use only can access from localhost. We can check from the database. Use MySQL. Select host user from user. Yeah, as you can see, DTS can be accessed from everywhere. So that's not the reason. And telnet failed means maybe the firewall or things like that refused our requests. So let's check for the security group. Get IP address for the DTS server. This is where we start the request. And add it to the allow list. Network connection. Add rules. Allow to access the 3306 is MySQL service port. Add it and try again. Yeah, it's passed right now. Then goes to the next target instance. Choose RDS instance. Choose Japan region. And choose the instance we just created. And then use the account and the password. Test connectivity. Well, it is also passed. Just in case, if you are failed in this step, do the same thing, similar to the source one, to check the security group settings of your RDS VPC. Next. Okay, choose full data migration and choose the database to migrate. Here we select all, but except these. Okay, then pre-check. Oh, we passed every check-in point. Okay, next. For migration, because it's totally free, so you don't need to take special attention to this one because it's a testing, so we just keep it the default. Start. This is a task we just created, and you can see the status right here. First, it's schema migration because we are migrating a relational database, not a schemaless like Mongo or Redis. Then it's full data migration. It may take several minutes to complete, depends on your data size. Okay, or you can see the details of the task. Well, it's completed right now. Let's connect to the target database to check for testing data. Okay, RDS console. Well, here we are. Log on to the database. Well, cars and the test data synced to the target database. Let's see more. Connect to use database cars and show tables. Actually, the tables in cars has already shown on the screen here. And to select all from brands. Yeah, the data is right here. And the other is query for test data. Show tables. Yeah, table right here. All data from app user. Yeah, these are the 7 records we have. And how about procedures? Do you remember in the environment preparing part, we have already created a procedure called proct test, right? Let's show procedure status like test. Yeah, it's synced to the target database. Okay, this is a full data migration. And no doubt, if you are generating new data during the time, it cannot be synced to the target database. So what if you have incremental data generating continuously and you also want to migrate your database with zero downtime? Well, there is a way. Do you remember when we first create a migration task, we have seen a incremental migration button in the second step? We're going to create a migration task again with incremental data migration enabled. Okay, let's create a migration task, new data generating task. Keep the same message again right here. This is a host. And migration account in a database. And target one here. Privileged account. Password. Test connectivity. Then next. Here, we choose Incremental Data Migration and select all database except C's, but change to another name. Car's new, right? Okay. Test data new. And then pre-check. There will be more check-in points for incremental migration. Take special attention to server ID. Your source database server ID should set to numbers that greater than 1. For example, you can set to 2 or 3 or 100, etc. Okay, then next. Right now, because we are going to do incremental migration, so now it's time to take special attention to the channel specification because you will be charged by different configuration. Okay, next. Purchase. After submit the task, let's generate some data for testing. Okay, this is our source database. Let's go into cars. Show tables. Create table. New cars. New brands. Name. Virtual 20. And year. Int. Okay. And insert into new brands values BMW. Let's say it's 2000. Tesla. $2020 and select from new brands. Yeah, we have 3 records in this new table. And when the migration is done, we should have seen this data in the target database. Let's wait and see. You can click View Details, see much more information about the task. Schema migration completed. Full data migration completed. And incremental migration not started yet. Task log. Okay. Okay, incremental data migration is starting right now. Let's create more data. Right now we have 6 records. Well done. Let's log on to the target database to see whether the data we just created has already synced to the target. Okay. Well, as you can see at the left bar, these are the databases we just sync via the new migration task. We changed the database name to cars new and test data new to do for data migration again. This is the new table we just created. and show tables. See the scheme, new brands, and select records, new brands. And select count all from new brands. Well, here's the problem. The source database only has 6 records, but the target has 7. So the data is obviously different from the source. What I'm trying to say is that this is a problem that's quite common because this table new brands, is a table without primary key. Once the network connection of the DTS migration task is not stable, the task will be automatically tried again. So it's possible to see the repeated data exist in the target database. The way to avoid this problem is to be sure that your table has at least one primary key. After data checking, when you're sure you have no more data to migrate, then go back to DTS. It's time to switch your traffic. Now, delete all your tasks because for incremental migration task, you will be charged continuously. Now you're free to go back to your application and change the database connection to the new database. Actually, it's RDS instance. Well, this is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!